Now, Trump made it clear yesterday that he understands addiction because his brother died of alcoholism. So, as the Times editorial board points out, it's hard to argue against the idea that Trump understands addiction. He saw it firsthand. He saw it kill a family member. But yesterday, in what was billed as a major speech, that's the way the news media was alerted, everybody was alerted, the guest list was put together, major speech coming on the opioid addiction in this country, which is just unspeakable in terms of the destruction and the death, the leaving children orphans, little babies, asleep in their booster chair in the car while the two parents in the front seat are dead because 5 minutes ago they shot up and instantly died. And they'll sit there, the corpses and the baby, until someone discovers them. It's fucking horrible. This is horrible. And the racial aspect of it has got to be removed. I realize I just made a big deal about the racial aspect of how when this only affected black and brown people, it was more or less ignored. It was their problem. Them over there in the ghetto. But now it affects working class especially and middle class whites. And it's affecting an enormous number of people who voted for Trump. So, it's supposed to be a major speech yesterday, but Trump demonstrated that he doesn't understand. Once again, this dumb shit doesn't understand anything. It was a nicely put together speech, not his words. Some bitch couldn't write a speech like that if somebody paid him double time for overtime. Couldn't do it. Trump does not have that much command of the English language. And he doesn't speak in paragraphs. He doesn't even speak in sentences. He speaks in chopped up little bullshit phrases, most of which are intended to insult somebody. But he did grasp, or I mean, he did display, he demonstrated that he has not grasped what is needed for this opioid epidemic. And more importantly, he doesn't understand the ways in which his own policies are stopping people from getting help. So many people that need help because of their addiction have gotten their help through Medicaid. And when the Affordable Care Act expanded Medicaid, it opened up the avenue for people to get help. But there's one thing about addiction that I assume most people know at this point. Yeah, you can intervene with somebody who is addicted. You can have a so-called intervention. You can, if you have legal control over that person, you can have them put into a rehab center if it's your kid. But unless a person wants to be free of the addiction, there's really no power on earth short of death that can stop it. There has to be an awareness on the part of the addict, and it doesn't make any difference what the substance to which they're addicted is. It doesn't matter. Unless there is a desire to get rid of the addiction, a desire coupled with the necessary action. I was an addict for 40 years. I always wanted to quit. I tried quitting 10, 20, 30, I lost count of how many times. Until finally it occurred to me, at a late age of my life, I was 60, and it occurred to me, why are you allowing this to go on? And so I stopped smoking. I had help. I used the patch. So it's been a decade and a half since I stopped smoking, which really doesn't mean anything, possibly. Because sometimes cancers develop in your body. It takes 20, 25 years to develop, so who knows? But the point is not my personal health or what risk I put myself through. The point is, I'm familiar with addiction too, and I know how difficult it is to break an addiction. It's not a habit. It's not something to which you become dependent on. It is an addiction. Now, when you combine the fact that yesterday he made no pledge for any kind of financing or even to work with Congress to prompt those Christians to come up with money, which Jesus would have told them to do, I'm relatively sure, because I've read the New Testament. So I'm reasonably sure that Jesus would say to these people, what the fuck are you doing? Get the money out there. These are the least of my brothers, and how you treat them, you're doing it to me. Oh, but wait a minute. That's not the Jesus these Christians believe in. Sad. So if you combine Trump's ignorance with his repeated attempts to gut health care for the poor and the middle class, and isn't he doing a good job just dismantling that son of a bitch left and right? Trump said he would address the flow of deadly illegal synthetic opioids into this country during his coming trip to China. I'm sure he'll get all tough with the Chinese, right? I'm sure he'll say to Xi Jinping, you got to stop the manufacture of this synthetic shit that's coming into my country and killing my people. I'm sure he'll say that, won't he? And when he does, Xi Jinping will probably say, well, Mr. Trump, you have to work with your own population to get them to stop demanding the drug. Because truth is, Mr. Trump, Xi Jinping will say, we both have capitalist systems. Mine is a little more rigidly controlled than yours, Mr. Trump. But we both have capitalist systems, and we know what that means. Demand will always produce supply. It doesn't work the other way. Supply does not increase demand. Demand increases supply. Even if you live in a fascist capitalist state like China or a near-fascist capitalist state like the United States. So, and this is what the Mexicans have been trying to tell the people of the United States for a number of years. Yeah, you get an awful lot of cocaine that comes either from Mexico or through Mexico, and you get a lot of marijuana that's either produced here or comes through here. But where does it go? It goes to the United States. It goes to your market. You're the people who are smoking it and snorting it and shooting it up.